This entire chopped cheese sandwich comes from a potato, and it tastes incredible. You would have no idea that the bun, the cheese, and the meat are all based on potato. So let me show you how to make it. Now, I've made most of these elements in the past. We're going to be doing a few tweaks to kind of speed it up, so that way we don't have to take 2 days to do it. I've made potato meat in the past, and it came out really good, and I recently made a potato cheese. This is going to be a quick version of both. So first, for our meat, let's start with our potato. We're actually going to be using 2 russet potatoes. Now, I'm going to grab a pot, fill it with water and a heaping pinch of salt, and then start peeling our potatoes. I want to make sure I get the potatoes right in the water so that way they don't brown and we don't get any sort of oxidation on them. The way I'm going to chop these potatoes is really going to affect the texture in the end. I'm actually going to be slicing them into almost like large, like steak fries almost, because, we're making kind of like a steak. And I'm actually going to do 2 different variations. I'm going to do thinner on the first potato and a lot thicker on the second potato, just, so I can have some variation of texture in the end. So we're going to toss this on the stove, turn the heat all the way up, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a tablespoon of rice vinegar, apple cider vinegar, or even like a red wine vinegar would work really well here. And then I'm going to add one of my favorite ingredients, about 1.5 tablespoons of yeast extract. This is Marmite. Now, there's Marmite, Vegemite, and there's a bunch of other mite products that are yeast extract. Yeast extract isn't MSG, it's simply the extraction of brewer's yeast. It has the incredible ability to taste very steak-like once the yeast is dead. It's very wild. So bring these to a boil. We're going to lower the heat down to about a medium and let them boil for about 15 minutes, which is plenty of time for today's sponsor.
So I love to learn new things, and one thing that I have never mastered is a second language. I mean, I took German all through high school, and I know how to count to like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've lived in Florida for almost 20 years now, and there's a lot of Spanish speakers that I would love to communicate easier with. So that's why I checked out Babbel and signed up to learn Spanish. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world and is scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. I mean, check this out. I just started. Me llamo Saucestache. ¿Dónde está el baño? I mean, that's pretty good, right? Gracias. I mean, I'm only a few weeks away from being able to take Monica out to dinner and being able to order in Spanish. I can't wait to surprise her with that one. And we've been thinking about heading to Puerto Rico for a vacation sometime soon, maybe the end of this year. I mean, I can't think of anything better than to be able to communicate easier while you're on vacation. Their lessons prepare you to have practical conversations about travel, business, relationships, and more. And just in case, they offer a 20-day money-back guarantee. So gang, click the link in the description below and get 60% off your subscription to Babbel. I know you're gonna love it. I've been having a blast with it, so let me know in the comments what language you're gonna be learning with Babbel and why. I'm really curious. Babbel, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for such a cool app that teaches in such a fun, useful, and just practical way.
Adios.
Adios, that's bye.
Once they're done boiling, I want to save this liquid. We're going to be using it a little bit later on. So we're just going to strain the potatoes out of the liquid and we're going to let them rest because after they're rested, I'm going to be breaking them apart by hand just to, again, create different textures. This is going to be kind of like the ground meat. I know it seems a little large right now, but it's going to shrink a bit and it'll make sense in the end. So as I'm breaking them up, I'm just tossing them onto a lined baking sheet and then I'm going to season it up. Now, this is going to be the only seasoning on the meat while it cooks at least. So we're going to cover them in garlic powder, smoked paprika, and black pepper. So now we're just going to toss them in the oven. I have the oven preheated at 250 degrees on a convection setting. If you don't have convection setting, you just give it a little bit longer. We're going to let these go for about 3 hours. It's going to pretty much dehydrate them and kind of crisp them up. So while those are cooking, I'm going to make kind of like a marinade that we're going to be using a little bit later. It's going to use about 1 cup of that broth. Now that's all you need. You can get rid of it now at this point. We're also going to be using about 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke and 1/4 of an onion chopped up. And we're just going to toss that in along with about 3 cloves of garlic. Lastly, I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And don't worry, this is just like a marinade. This is not going to all be consumed. Now we're just going to toss a lid on it, shake it up, throw it in the fridge, and let it rest for the next 3 hours or so.
There's a 3-hour timer with about 34 minutes to go.
Okay, so I actually checked on these about the 2.5-hour mark, and they looked pretty good. They were all pretty solid, even the ones that weren't completely dehydrated through. They weren't potato-y, which is exactly what we were going for. We wanted them to be pretty dense. So at this point, I'm just trying to figure out a good way to dump these into a takeout container, which, luckily with the sill pad, I was just able to pick it up, burn my fingers just a little bit, and then just kind of dump it right in. So So at this point, we're going to grab our marinade, give it one more shake, and then I'm just going to start spooning in all of the onions and garlic that are in there. Once we have all of the onions and garlic in, then you can kind of stir it up, see how much juice is in there, and I added about another like 2 or 3 tablespoons of the marinade mixture into the potatoes. I'm going to give those one more shake, and then just take a look, make sure all the potatoes are coated, and you can see this looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to toss the lid on, throw it in the fridge, and let it rest while we're preparing the cheese. So like I said, everything we're going to do here is going to be the easy version of kind of like what I've done in the past. So we just need one more potato. We're going to peel it and then chop it up and then toss it into a steamer and let it steam for about 15 minutes. Now, once the potatoes are done steaming, we're going to toss those right into a blender and then start adding all of the cheesy ingredients. We just need about a half teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon paprika, quarter teaspoon garlic powder, quarter teaspoon onion powder, and we're going to be using about 1 teaspoon of lactic acid. Now, lactic acid is usually produced when you ferment something, so it's in like sauerkraut, pickles, things like that. I know I always get the comments about how do you get vegan lactic acid? Well, lactic acid isn't lactose, and even though it is in meat and beef, it doesn't come from meat and beef. You can get it from plenty of plant-based sources. Now, we're also going to be using about a quarter teaspoon of MSG. I know is everybody's favorite. And then we also need about a pinch of salt, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast, 3 tablespoons cornstarch, a tablespoon of olive oil, and then we're going to start blending. Now, I have about a cup of water on the side here that once we get this all completely blended up, I'm going to start adding the water and then just get it to our desired consistency, which is like a nice runny cheese. You should see like here at this point. Now, I'm going to keep the blender running while I'm cooking the potatoes, so I'm just going to toss those into a nonstick skillet with a little bit of olive oil on like a medium heat, pour the potatoes in, add a little bit of water, cover them up, and kind of let them steam for just a few minutes. Once they're nice and hot, all of the water is kind of steamed off, and you can actually give them a taste. They should be, it has like a nice chew to it. Now you could just quickly pour the cheese over, have your sandwich ready, like a little bit of lettuce, tomato on, I'm just using a potato roll, so that way everything's from potatoes, and then spoon in your chopped cheese. I mean, I'm telling you, this looks really good to me. I'm really excited about it. I think the consistency, the chew, everything's going to be good. Once that's spooned in, I'm going to pour over just a little bit more cheese, and now let's see what Monica has to say.
Try to napkin.
I know, hold on, let me get your napkin.
Oh. Yeah.
Thoughts?
This is very good. I love this like meaty bite. I know it's potato, but I mean,
Okay, you could tell it's potato?
no, I just knew that's what it was.
Oh, you knew?
Yeah.
So, but it's meaty, right? Like,
Yeah, it's meaty. It's got like a really nice crunchy bite to it, almost like bacony.
really? I'm not getting that. I feel like it needs, like if I would put a little bit of mayo in here, but I mean, other than that, you probably wouldn't do mayo.
No, I like mayo a little bit. You can put some mayo on here, but I do like the combo with the like lettuce and tomato and the cheese, and like I do think the potato is like a really great meat substitute. It's a good sandwich. It's really refreshing, actually. When I eat it by itself, there might be a little bit of a potato texture, but I can't really tell when I'm eating it as a full sandwich. And I do feel like kind of the texture on the outside of the potato, it has like a bacony feel, like a bacony skin, I guess.
Okay. A little denser on the outside.
Yeah.
But then chewy in the middle.
Yeah.
Super good.
Yeah, I really like that.
Chopped cheese entirely from a potato. The bun, the cheese,
That's amazing.
and the meat.
That's amazing.
The lettuce and tomato are the only thing not potato.
Can you believe that?